Hi everyone, Sally here. Just a quick note before we dive into today's episode. In this conversation, I share a bit about my own experience with a traumatic birth. If this is something that may be difficult for you to hear, please feel free to skip ahead or take care of yourself in whatever way feels right. And if you're in Australia and need support, you can contact Panda's National Perinatal Mental Health Helpline at 1300 726 306. If you're listening from another country, please reach out to a postpartum support service in your area. You're never alone and there's always help available. Thanks for being here. Now let's get started. Happy Friday!
Happy Friday. We've made another week. How good is it?
It's been big weeks, I think, in both camps.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
both
It's
of
sort of
us.
been a bit of a struggle. I've been limping to the finish line this week, but looking forward to a somewhat quiet weekend. How about you?
We have a child's birthday party, which actually is every weekend at the moment, and it is going to be a glow stick disco party. We all have to wear white,
Oh,
which actually
yes.
I quite like a child's birthday party. I'm not anti them at all. It's a good way to use up the time, and then on Sunday, I think doing absolutely nothing.
Oh, yeah, it'll be
Nobody
nice. I
look
think
at
you just sort of
me,
get
nobody
through.
breathe
Yeah,
near me.
get through Saturday, limp into Sunday, recharge. But I'm so glad. I feel like the birthday party scenario is we're well and truly out of that
You're
with
done with
my
that. Plus,
teenage kids.
yeah,
Yeah,
you could do a drop and run. We are so far off the
definitely.
drop and
Yes,
run
you
stage.
are. You are. But you know what makes it easier if the hosts put a little bit of champagne or a few sort of icy cold beers or something like that into the mix
Absolutely.
with the parents. Like,
Last week's party was at a bowls club and it was so much fun. And these lovely parents had gone all out. There was a grazing table, there was champagne, there were beers, there was cheese platters.
oh, so good.
It was a party for me.
Yeah. We had when my second was born, we had just moved into our big house. So before that, with my first, we had like a little apartment sort of unit. So we weren't able to do this, but with my second, we had a cake party for his first birthday. So
I I'm just thinking like frat party. Did you have like the beer hats with the
yeah,
the
like those,
straws?
yeah.
Cake
And
stands?
yeah, like, and if you imagine those like red paper cups, like that
Yes,
the
the red
Americans,
solo
the
cups.
red solo
Oh,
cups, yeah.
you're just
No,
living
we
all
didn't
of my
have
college dreams
that.
at a
Well,
second
that
2-year-old's birthday party.
I know, it was so good. We really enjoyed ourselves, and the kids. We had a jumping castle too, I think, for that one. So we went all out. I think we were celebrating just being in a bigger house, more space, new neighborhood, new friends. Maybe
What a
we were
way to
just trying to
celebrate
buy some friends. I don't
with a cake
know.
stand. Buy some friends. Yeah,
But
that'd do
certainly it
it.
was a,
I'd be
a
your friend
memorable
with that.
birthday party. Yeah, I know. But yeah,
Okay,
champagne
well,
all
I'm
the
going to
way.
have to add that I'm planning a Taylor Swift disco party for my soon to be 6-year-old daughter. So
Oh,
we'll get
brilliant.
some maybe kegless, or maybe if I bedazzle them.
Maybe a little
Well,
champagne station, I don't know, or a little
definitely.
cocktail
Well, there's going to be a
station.
glitter bar. So if there's a glitter bar, there
Oh.
needs to be a champagne bar. But
Well,
yeah.
you know what they say about glitter. It's the
What?
herpes of the craft world.
Oh,
It
it's
gets
so
into
true.
everything. And you'll find it
It's
years later. You're a brave person getting glitter
Oh,
out.
it's
So,
already in my house. You should see my bathroom at the moment. Like it
oh,
we are
yeah.
infested. We've caught it. We've contracted it.
There's no turning
Um
back. You may as well embrace it.
exactly. So today's episode is
Nothing to
embracing
do
a
with
little bit
glitter.
of
Yeah.
nothing to do with glitter or champagne, although it would make you a little bit more hands-free to be able to hold
True.
said glass of
True.
champagne. Today's episode is all about the snoo.
Mm.
And I think it'll be an interesting topic because you and I are going to have different takes because it didn't exist when you had your babies.
No, it didn't. It was, yeah, only something we could dream of, like when my kids were little. So definitely it's only entered the market since I've been a sleep consultant. And yeah, the popularity has definitely gained momentum over the last few years. So it's an interesting technological advance, I guess, in baby sleep. So it's in my, my thoughts on it are quite. I mean, I feel
What would
like
be
it's
your
a
initial
great.
thought?
Don't buy it. Don't waste your money. That's my initial thought. However, I can see
Clearly
the
not sponsored
benefits.
by the
Yeah.
Snoo.
I just get straight to the point. Like my clients know I don't sugarcoat anything, but it's
I
one of
love
those
it.
things where I feel like you can definitely see the advantage of having it. Like I understand why parents buy it or rent it. Like it can be a really great addition for a lot of families. And so I'm not knocking it. I just feel like my personal thoughts on it are you could probably do just as great a job, settling your baby off to sleep if you just had a few tools in your sleep tool belt.
Mm.
I'm not sure, what your thoughts are. How
So
do you feel about
I
it?
first baby, I was absolutely in your camp. I was like, why would anyone bother with the Snoo? Both as a
Mm.
sleep consultant, plus I've got a newborn. Like, what's everyone else doing? And then I also now retrospectively realize I had just the easiest baby and the easiest postpartum experience. Cut to second baby, I rented a Snoo in the middle of the night at about 4, 5, 6 weeks old, did not consult anyone. I was like, nobody is coming to rescue me.
Yeah.
I can't do this in the current way that I'm doing this. But I think the difference was it was the middle of a pandemic. So literally no one's coming to hold your baby
Yeah.
and
No.
settle your baby for you, even during the day. My husband, and this is not a reflection on him, but we had just kind of assumed it would be as easy as it
Yes.
was after baby number one. And it was the total opposite for so many different reasons. So he had gone back to work 2 days. I mean, it's tricky when you run your own businesses.
That's true.
We didn't factor in that. So I was on my own. But not only that, I sprained both of my arms during labor. I had a bit of a traumatic.
What?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
did you
I
do
should say
that?
trigger warning of like, just the
Wow.
rip roaring contractions and like clutching the bed. So
Oh,
I sprained
wow.
both hands. I had a separated pelvis from the pregnancy, and then my beautiful second baby was born at 4.6 kilos. So I couldn't physically. I struggled. Yeah, I really struggled to
Wow.
physically pick him up and hold him.
Yep.
And he had a broken collarbone from birth that we didn't know about. He was a sad baby. He was a heavy baby. I even remember going to the oven to make a cake like 3 days postpartum because I was like, let me do something that feels like me. And I couldn't, my hands were so sore that I couldn't turn the oven on with the knob.
That's insane. Gosh.
Yeah.
Looking back, it must be totally how you got through, how you just sort of you muddle through, you get through each day because there's no other way, as a
There's
mum and
no
a
other
parent,
way.
so there's no other way. And to be able to look back, like reflect on it now, you must feel like that what took an insane amount of mental strength, physical strength, emotional strength to be able to get through it. And then, in that moment of, your 2 a.m. scroll, looking for, oh my God, like something help me. In that moment, you would imagine that the Snoo is one of those, it's a feeling of relief that there's something
I
out
just
there
had
that
to
can give it
try
to you.
anything, and because the main issue was I was struggling to pick him up or to even pat him or wear him. He was one of those babies that I pop him in the wrap, out cold, but I couldn't physically do that at a toilet training toddler. Like it was all the things. It was all the things. And so come 2 a.m. one morning, I was just like, okay, what am I going to do? I ordered a meal delivery service. I booked a lactation consultant because I just continually had bilateral mastitis with this clinical oversupply because I gave birth to a baby the size of a toddler and who ate in a similar fashion. And I hired a Snoo and it got delivered, I think, the next day and it felt like Christmas morning.
Oh my God, I bet. And P.S.,
Yeah.
how nice being in a metro, so you can get things delivered straight away,
Uh,
not so great
the
for us regional girls.
No, I mean, we were even talking during the week, and I was like, "Oh, I've just had my coffee delivered to the house," and you're like, "Damn,
Yes.
I want that."
Yeah.
So I could get coffee and snooze. That's
Yeah.
all. That's all we need in life is a coffee and a snoo. For anyone that's not sure what the snoo is, it's called the world's first smart bassinet, and it's a responsive bassinet that detects your baby crying, and when it detects that and at different levels, it sort of kicks into white noise and different levels of intensity of motion. And it was created by Dr. Harvey Karp. And now both you and I have done his course.
Yep, he's an American pediatrician, and he gained notoriety from developing the 5S's, which is, it's a way to sort of help parents in the first or the fourth trimester, the first 3 months of when your little ones are newborns. So the 5S's are swaddle, side, sucking, shushing, and swaying.
Swing. Yep.
Yeah, so it's using one or all of those aspects to help calm and switch on the calming reflex for your newborn, which definitely works. It is a really great tool to use for new parents. I feel like there's a lot of merit involved in the 5S's, and because of his popularity, I guess he looked into finding a way to use all those 5S's in a way that could help parents overnight with a little bit more technology. So,
And look,
so
it's
that Snoo was
incredibly
developed.
popular.
Very popular. Very
Very,
popular.
very popular. And I think what also helps is it's quite pretty. It's big.
Yes,
It
yes.
takes up more room than the average, bedside bassinet, but it's pretty. And that would get a lot of people across the line in the world of a
Oh yeah, the
Pinterest-worthy
aesthetic
nursery.
side of
Yeah.
things. Yeah, absolutely. Like who doesn't no one wants an ugly bassinet. Like,
No,
because it was
exactly that's it.
so like, you like when when my kids were little, you would just have your cots and maybe the side sleeper, where you could sort of the side would sort of roll down so you could have that as a co-sleeping bassinet. That was like probably the new fandangly thing, but not overly pretty. And then they had the cane and the wicker bassinets. They came back into fashion, and they still look beautiful. But to have this Snoo looking the way it does definitely ticks a lot of boxes.
And I think also, safe sleep has sort of evolved as well, away from things like the Moses baskets, or anything that was really padded. So the Snoo part of their claim is that it is safe asleep because of the way that your baby is clipped in essentially into the swaddle that clips into the mattress, and the Snoo will only turn on if that is clipped into place. So it keeps your baby on their back. So from a safe sleep of always place your baby on their back for sleep, that's one of their claims. So you can sort of, to an extent, set and forget. Your baby's not going to roll over in the night. Not that a lot of newborns are out there just rolling willy-nilly, but it does say that, there are babies that are in it for up to 6 months. So you just sort of have that peace of mind. Plus now they've brought out all sorts of different designs of the cot sheets and the different
Make it
Snoo
fun
swaddle
so you
and
can shop
prints.
for your Snoo. Yeah.
Yeah, you can accessorize, absolutely. And so what it does is it is a responsive rocking. It has 5 different levels of motion. It also has built-in white noise that will increase with your baby's level of fussiness. It connects to your phone. It connected to my Apple Watch, and you can customize it. So if you don't ever want it to get past a certain level of intensity, you can cap it. It also has a weaning mode so that as your baby gets older, you can try and encourage a little bit more self-settling, and then it kicks in if and when needed. And for me, it's not a miracle. I mean, I don't think anything is a miracle worker. Like there's
Well,
no magic thing that's going to fix
No,
everything,
no,
you know?
that's right. But I think it's one of those things where there is that ultimate thought process of, I need something to help me.
Hmm.
Something's got to be better than nothing. And there are a lot of amazing reviews for the Snoo. So usually those ones are the ones that are leading the top of the pack in terms of, what you're looking at. I'm one of those people when it comes to reviews, like, how it says 5-star, 4, 3, 2, 1. I
Yeah,
am
I
one of
go to
those
the
people
one.
that, yeah,
Yeah.
same. Same. I
So
want
what's
to
the
know that
truth
that one
about
says,
this?
yeah.
Yeah.
And I always see what the response is, because I feel
Mm,
like the way a product might deliver a response, or whoever it is, I feel like the response is key to how
that
I'm
says a
going
lot
to
too.
think about the product. So yeah, so lots of 5-star reviews that go into it. And, between us as sleep consultants, we've had hundreds of families that have used the Snoo and have
Absolutely.
varying opinions on how it went. Um, and and I and yeah, it's one to sit on the fence for me. I mean,
I
clearly
found
I
it,
say,
I needed the extra pair of hands, and it absolutely did that. Did it stop my baby from crying like a lot of the day? No, but what it meant was I actually could recover. Instead of he needed that tactile, hands-on swaying, I couldn't
"Hmm,
physically manage it, and it did that for me. Did it put him to sleep every single time without fuss? No way. I would get notifications on my watch saying, "Oh, needs help," because it turns off after a certain time. If it's like, I've tried, I've
wow.
given up.
Oh,
It doesn't just keep trying. It will say,
okay.
the Snoo has turned off. Oh, needs your help. And I'd be like, oh man, like,
I,
is there a
I
way I
actually
could just
didn't
like
realize
do this on the remote?
that.
Yeah. And
Please try again, please.
yeah, but you have to go into the Snoo, into the room
Okay.
to reset, which I absolutely get, like, and
Yeah,
appreciate. But
absolutely. You do
sometimes you're
want
just
that.
sitting on the couch and like, start again, like, keep going, please keep going. Um, and it
I had
can
no
be,
idea that it had that function. Sorry to cut you
yes,
off. I actually didn't
no,
know that, and it makes sense because obviously, from a developer's perspective, you don't want it to you want parental involvement. You don't want parents just to sort of sit and forget and just leave their baby for 12 hours overnight.
no.
Like, there has to be some kind of parental involvement. Like, if it's not working, it's not working. Come and do something with your
Come and
child for
rescue your
sure.
baby, even though there
Mm.
are definitely times I'm like, please just keep trying.
Yeah. Oh, you're in the middle of a
Um,
great episode there.
yeah, or I can't physically get off the couch. It's a struggle.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
but no, it will definitely turn off. But I think the other thing is that it can be a little bit intimidating, because when it gets it to its highest level and it's all deemed safe and,
Yeah.
approved by the powers that be, but it can be vigorous rocking.
Wow.
And like, I remember his little cheeks. And so I was actually glad that it did stop, that it wasn't just wobbling my baby,
Yeah. Like,
indefinitely.
mm,
But like I said, you can actually, if that ever made you feel comfortable, or if you felt like, oh, I have quite a small baby that this feels too intense for a baby on the smaller
yeah.
side, then you can cap it at one of the lower
Yeah. Right.
in intensities, and know that it will stop and turn off. The price point is high. It's about 2,000 Australian dollars. I rented mine. And I think if I were to ever have a third baby, I would only rent, purely because I didn't have to figure out what to do with it after. I didn't need that mental
Yes.
load
Yes,
of,
that's
I got
right.
to try and resell this. Where do I store it? Because again, it's big.
Mm.
And not only that, is I actually didn't need it for that long, because he figured out self-settling at 15 weeks. So I didn't, I moved him into a cot, and off he went, or I just moved him back into the bedside bassinet, and he'd sorted it out. So I didn't need it for the 6 months that a lot of babies can stay in it. Plus,
Yeah.
having a baby on the bigger side, he would have outgrown it much faster than the average baby. So I could just say, "Hey, come and collect,"
Yes.
and that was really helpful.
Yeah.
It claims that you can get 1 to 2 extra hours of sleep per night, that there's 30% less crying, the safer sleep because of baby on the back, as we've already discussed. And then it talks about that it helps babies learn how to self-soothe. And I think that's probably where I'd like to discuss.
It's a very bold claim, a very bold
It's
claim.
a really bold claim, particularly when we're talking about newborns, where yes, babies can absolutely start working on that, but I just don't think it's as conscious as self-settling, in those first few weeks. But it's a lot of assisted motion. I still think you still have to wean it or turn it off or look to transition a baby into their cot and still work on self-settling.
Yeah, I feel like it's a bold claim to advertise that it promotes self-settling when it's a very heavy prop involved. So, like you said, like the rocking motion is a prop that needs to be continued in order for your little one to remain asleep or get back off to sleep. Whereas self-settling is utilizing self-soothing skills to return back to sleep without needing the props. So while the white noise is a prop, it's not, if it's on continuously all through your nap and all through, the night, it's not something that needs to be recreated. Like mum and dad will pop the white noise on,
It requires
and then
no
plays.
assistance.
Yeah, no assistance. So it's on continuously all through the night. Whereas, and you can wean that absolutely later on down the track, but that's something that is continuous. And so that's a positive prop to have in the mix. But yeah, self-settling. And also we're not really looking for little ones of this age, like you touched on before, to be able to self-settle. So like in the first 3 months, self-settling is not the goal as such. It's creating great structure in through the day, and getting sort of like a predictable pattern. Yeah, establishing feeds and, just setting yourself up for, predictable days, kind of predictable nights.
A little bit of survival.
Yes, that's right.
Just got to get through.
Just getting through. You just want to bake a banana bread with 2 great
just
risks involved.
That was my goal. That was the reality of the extent of my goals.
But the other side.
Yeah,
the other side of it is that, there was that survey that was put out that highlights that parents are, they are losing on average 133 nights in the first year of sleep. Let's do that again. There is that survey that that's found that parents lose on average 133 nights of sleep before their babies turn 1. So,
which is huge.
It is huge. It's a lot. So on average, that's 7 parents out of 10 losing 1 to 3 hours of sleep per night. And
let's be honest, it's probably mostly mothers.
Yes.
Too, so who are probably also looking after other like it's so much. There is, and this is, I guess, why these products exist. And to be honest, like why sleep consultants like us have a role, because the village has changed. We don't have the people we don't have a wet nurse, I'm going to have a night off feeding my baby. Here, can you do it? Or can you toilet train my child? So we're looking for ways to supplement our own micro village, which is just us on sleep deprivation. And so it's sensible, and I'm sure we'll see lots more of these sorts of products.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if the claims are that we're losing 1 to 3 hours of sleep overnight each night, having something like the Snoo that then claims to give you 1 to 2 hours worth of sleep per night, it kind of feels like it's a great marketing strategy, and there are plenty of people out there that swear by the Snoo. So it's
so here's so if I take, I mean, it's hard to remove my personal experience. It absolutely did help me. It absolutely did. I then, just as you do, work with a lot of families who are either still in the snoo or are trying to transition out of it, or they had the snoo and it ended up becoming just a very overpriced, clothes rack in their room, and baby was, probably more likely
Dumping
to be in
ground.
bed with them. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I've worked with lots of different snoo scenarios, and I think, and shameless plug here, but I actually asked it in my Snoo Social Baby membership, where, Beck, you are one of the incredible moderators, just to say, did you use a snoo? What were your thoughts? And it was mixed. Lots of people loved it. Lots of people said it was useful during the 4-month sleep regression, where we still had a regression to a degree, but it was less because the snoo did the heavy lifting in the night during these multiple wakings. So it wasn't as not as much assistance and not as disruptive, should I say. Some people said they didn't, but they wished that they had. It was essentially a lot of mixed feelings, and that it wasn't a set and forget solution, but overall it was a positive experience. But no one said this was hands down the biggest game changer. My baby slept 12 hours every night because of the snoo from day one. The families where I think, or where you hear that, in those 5-star reviews, I also wonder if I had put my first baby in a snoo, she would have just done the same thing she was going to do in the bassinet anyway, and her temperament and her love of sleep, she's a mini snoozosaurus, would have also made the snoo look like the miracle worker. Whereas because she wasn't it, I just know that was her. She slept 12 hours at 12. Like, we never had catnap. She's angel sleeper, literally from the night I brought her home. So, but had she gone into the snoo, I would have praised the snoo.
Yeah, that's a really great point to make, actually. And it's like the family that I just finished up with this morning. So we do a little final review. And I mentioned that we're doing the talk on the snoo, and she was like, she goes, "Oh, fantastic. I've, totally different from baby 1 to baby 2. And she said that they use the snoo for baby number 1, and I worked with them for baby number 1. So they used the snoo. She said initially it was like a confidence builder because she knew that the baby couldn't roll and so forth. It did give her extra hours of sleep. And it sort of, she was very excited by it in the first few months and all the things, and thought it was, a godsend, yada, yada, until the 4-month regression piped up, and then her little one was rolling through the day, and then so she had to transition out of the snoo, do all the things, the 4-month regression, rolling, transition to a big bed, all the things that they happened all at once. So that put her off using it again for baby
because
number 2.
Because it didn't save her from that.
It didn't save her from that. Yeah. So what she did for the second time round was didn't use the snoo at all. Didn't want baby to become reliant on the rocking. So she sort of learned a little bit from the first one in terms of like, let's not get addicted to the motion. Yeah, that's it. But she said, first time round for the first 3 months worked a treat. And then it was the other side of it that she found really difficult. But similar, saved her bacon a little bit in those first 3 months. But the temperament side of thing does play a big role in maybe how some of the negative reviews play out too, because there are just some little ones that prefer a less is more approach. They're really, they're not into all the touch. They're not into all the rocking, singing, patting, bouncing, feeding. They are just more of
the cheek wobbling.
Yeah, just put me down. I might have a bit of a sook, and then I'm going to put myself off to sleep and do a really good job of it. But it's really hard to know in that moment or before your baby is born what temperament your little one is going to be. And they can be the same. You had two very different babies.
Wildly different sleepers and temperaments. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that that's probably my sentiment with the snoo is, while I can see its merit and it can save a lot of families, can give them a lot of confidence and save them hours, of resettling and sleeping and all the things. I feel like buying one before your baby is born is maybe preempting a tricky sleeper, when actually you may have a beautiful napper, beautiful sleeper. You might have some, teething issues along the way with their sleep, but
We all do,
ultimately,
yeah.
yeah, I think maybe you just want to back yourself to be able to develop some settling strategies, back
And
your
save yourself the
baby to,
$2,000 maybe.
yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, I just feel like maybe, and like, I feel like in your scenario, you needed the extra pair of hands,
Mm.
I feel like back your baby before you buy it. And if you feel like you need the extra support, that's where a snoo could possibly come in super handy. That's my take on a
Yeah,
snoo.
and look, there are ones on Marketplace. Lots of
Oh,
families are left with it after being like, which family friend can I pass it on to? So, I think that would be a useful way to go. I think one of the main hesitations or concerns that families have are exactly like what your client experienced of, this is all well and good for the first 3 months, but how do I get my baby out of the
mm,
snoo? And
yeah,
this is often when they reach out to us.
yeah,
And I think two things. One is, if it's bought you time up
mm,
until 4-month regression, if we just, use that as a sort of benchmark of when things might get wobbly, fantastic. That's bought you some time.
yeah,
If you then still need to do some more active sleep training, but like you said, it saved you bacon, I had an extra pair of hands, I could rest, recover, blah, 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 then amazing. We just cross that bridge if and when we get there.
mm,
For me, I didn't have to do any more active sleep training because one night in the middle of the night, I did a feed and I put him back down and I forgot to turn it back on.
ah,
And when I realized that in the morning and he'd slept, another 5 hours, I thought, oh, you settled yourself back off
yeah,
to sleep. I don't think you need this as much. So I was a bit, I mean, to be fair, I think it's a little bit easier sometimes when you have the knowledge of a sleep consultant and a second time mother, and I'm a bit of a cowboy. I'll give something a go. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, I I he would have only been like 13 or 14 weeks,
mm,
and so I put him in it and didn't turn it on,
mm,
and I just watched him at bed. I had it on during the day, but during the night, I was like, oh, you've just done this. And then I took his arm out early and then he sucked his thumb and I
oh,
never
God love
turned
him.
it back on. So I could
Mm.
actively hear him sucking his thumb
Oh,
so much during the night. Yeah, self-settling and
that's
putting
so
himself back to
cute.
sleep. Yeah. So he figured out another way
Mm.
that didn't require the motion and the snoo. And I just had the glow dreaming white noise on in the room instead.
Oh,
So
yeah.
when I then took him out, because I was like, oh, well, you're just in a bassinet now,
Mm.
I sent it back to the hiring place, and put him in the regular bassinet and then into the cot. And we just didn't skip a beat, and that was
Mm.
him done. But that's not always the case. And so what I find is that we often still need to do some active sleep training. And if we don't, again,
Mm.
chances are it's a bit of temperament.
Yeah.
Or unbeknownst to you and the snoo, you've actually encouraged self-settling somehow in some other way, and your baby figured it out, and then you haven't needed to sleep train.
Yeah, that's right. I think in terms of like what the snoo can do, the things that it can't really do are things like, if there's feed to sleep associations, if there are a day night confusion, if there is,
I was
gastrointestinal
going to say
issues,
reflux, yeah, tongue ties,
lots
it
of that,
won't fix
lots
that.
of things. It won't fix that. So there will
Mm,
still be wakings, and so that's maybe one of those areas that you still find that there are babies waking up quite frequently and so forth, and it's hard to pinpoint exactly what it is, when you're in a snoo. It's sort of mainly you can start pinpointing those types of things when you're out of a snoo,
mm,
because you can start learning from your own settling experiences just what works and what maybe doesn't work. So if you've got a little one that is it's involving temperament, if you start playing around with doing less, then you might find that the sleep improves. If you're settling upright and they're starting to sort of fall asleep more readily and easily, then maybe it could be a case of there might be some sort of reflux or something going on because they're settling upright rather than down
Lying
low.
flat.
Flat. So yeah, I feel like there's so many pros, also so many cons to a snoo, and it's personal preference. I think it's just a personal experience, really.
So if I had to give my Google review, I would probably say a 3.5 star.
That's a pretty generous review, I feel.
Yeah.
It's realistic. I think
It's
like
realistic.
3.5
And I think
stars.
that's what, if you're going into it, even from a hiring at 1 a.m. perspective, there's the reality of your baby will still be your baby, and temperament and all of those other, issues that cause overnight wakings and cause crying, that will still exist. Okay. I think also it's worth planning, but don't fear the transition period. Once, if sleep's going really well, then you hit the 4-month sleep progression and the snoo ain't snooing, and you still have to do something more formal in terms of sleep work. Don't fear it. You can still plan for it. Just know. I went into the snoo thinking, great, no matter what, I just have to get to 4 months and then I'm going to sleep train.
Yes.
But I also
really
had the
great way of looking
confidence
at it.
knowing that I could do that. I wasn't scared. If anything, it gave me sort of light at the end of the newborn tunnel. So I think you just plan for it and you just cross that bridge when you get there. And it doesn't matter if you still have to do it. It wasn't a fail. It's just the next phase.
Yeah, it's just getting through. Like at the end of the day, you've just got to get through. And if it works, it works. If it sort of is a mediocre sort of help, then take it. If it's not helping, do your own settling and just sort of muddle through. And then, somewhere around 5 to 6 months, we can sort of start doing a little bit more, formal sleep work to smooth things out. But yeah, me personally, it's a no.
It's a no. And I'm only at 1 a.m. if I need it. And then, like I said, zero hesitation. And I think that would be my recommendation. I think just as you've said, if someone asked me, should I get a snoo? I'd say absolutely, but you don't need it straight away. And I also wouldn't be spending the $2,000 on it.
Marketplace or rent all the way, for sure. Because it's only used for such a short amount of time. It could be second hand, third hand, fourth hand, fifth hand.
And it's all washable. It's, the renting was just a dream. And again, like I wasn't left with it, staring at it for the next 6 months, thinking I really should pass that on.
Or have another baby.
Or have another.
Yeah,
but like I've got big age gaps. I'm like, where am I going to put you for 4 years while I and R about having another baby? But who knows? Like if I got another version of my first child, that would have been an absolute waste of money.
Yes. Wow. I guess it's one of those things, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think if you can afford it, you want one, go for it. If it's not in your budget, if you're sitting on the fence, it's definitely not a newborn necessity, particularly before you've even met your baby.
Yes. Perfect. Love that.
All right. So I think that brings us to the end of our snoo chat, but we'd be very open to hear what other people's experiences are because, it has been a while since I used it. I've sort of blocked out a lot of that first 15 weeks of having a newborn. So let us know in the comments. You can also follow us. I'm at The Sleep Concierge. Beck, you're at The Sleep Centre on social media. You can subscribe to the podcast and where we'll be recording another episode soon.
That's right. I think it's time to wrap up, lock up, and start thinking about that party you're going to on Saturday.
Oh, yeah. I'll get my disco, my glow sticks out, get my little rave on.
Yeah. And your white jeans, because,
Do you know what? It just makes me think of like the snoo moving as I was just dancing that nobody can see me do. When I talk to families and and we talk about, my baby always falls asleep in the car. Is that self-settling? I'm like, no, that's the DIY snoo.
Oh, yes, it totally is.
Your baby is, or, like they fall asleep in the pram or the stroller, or when I'm walking wearing the carrot, that is the DIY snoo. And that is a totally acceptable form of snooing.
Yeah. I love that.
Much cheaper.
Yeah, that's it. Totally.
The budget
Oh, my
snoo.
goodness. Yes.
All right, well, we'll love you and leave you, and we'll see you on the next episode of Nap Trapped.
Nap Trapped. Have a great
Bye.
weekend. Bye.